evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce to you the winner of our Irvine Page Faculty Research Award, Dr. Bhama Ramkhelawon. Welcome, Bhama. My
Hello.
name is Daisy Sahoo, and I'm the chair of the Irvine Page Committee, and I thought it would be a nice opportunity to learn a little bit more about you and your research, Bhama, today. So why don't we start by you telling us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your training background. What brought you to this point where you are right now?
Thank you so much, Daisy. And I'd like to really thank ATVB, AHA, and the selecting committee for giving me this award. It's a real honor, and I'm very humbled to receive this award. And I was just reading about what Irvine Page had done himself, his research focusing on hypertension and serotonin in all this pathology, and I was just curious what he would think when he would see the legacy he has left of all the trainees that are awarded this award in his name. That would be interesting if he could come back and tell us what he thinks about it. So my background is a little atypical. So currently, let me just go backwards. Currently, I'm assistant professor at New York University Medical Center. And I'm in my office. I'm lucky to have a great office, so a great view of the river. And so I've had my lab for 4.5 years now. And prior to that, I did a postdoc at the same institution with Dr. Catherine Moore. I'm sure most of you, all of you, are very aware of her achievements, not just scientifically, but her little pedigree she has created now from her lab. And before that, I did my PhD in Paris, in France. I studied there for 10 years at Université de Paris. And so I'm bilingual, I speak French. And before that, I was in Mauritius, where I was born. It's a small island off the east coast of Madagascar. So I was born there, and then been studying and traveling all around the world, and every time embracing new cultures, new way of teaching and learning, different philosophy of teaching and mentoring students. For example, in France, they have this education for all philosophy, so which I was able to benefit from, and then in the US, it's a little bit more of a meritocracy. So if you want, you can. So if I can, you can. So it's sort of a mix of different background of learning and mentoring and stuff like that I benefited from. And yeah, that's a little bit about background.
That's amazing, actually. I mean, the experiences that you've had have really shaped who you are today, and I think that's absolutely fantastic. So tell us a little bit about what your lab does at NYU.
So let me go back a little bit. Since I was in high school, I was the unknown kid, always asking questions, and every time we'd learn something in biology, I'd be like, why? I would be the one raising up my hands, and I remember making all my teachers annoyed because I was delaying all the classes. But anyway, I'm still like that. I guess that's the powerhouse of getting scientists going. So in my lab, we're focused on, I got a chance to start working on aortic aneurysms. And although this was not my original training, I was trained in cardiovascular, working on inflammation and macrophage dynamics in the different diseases under the big cardiovascular umbrella. And I decided to focus my lab on aortic aneurysms because it was a big mystery for me, and I took it as a challenge. And I am thankful to couple of people that have helped me to reach and make these discoveries now. First of all, my postdoctoral mentor, Dr. Catherine Moore, because when I was in her lab, I was able to gain interest in aortic aneurysms. Because I thought it was mysterious why suddenly, because I was working on atherosclerosis, which was like this disease where the vessels get blocked. And then this disease, it's the complete opposite with the same risk factors. I'm like, what's going on? So we started looking at some of the mechanism I'd studied in my postdoc back then, and I applied for a K99, and she encouraged me to go that way, and worked out. I got the grant, and it kind of shaped my next steps in my career. And I'm also very grateful for Dr. Dougherty. So he welcomed me in his lab, showed me everything you need to know about how to study AAA, abdominal aortic aneurysms. And he introduced me to many members of the community, and I'm very grateful to that. So we had a talk on mentors and sponsors, and those were great hands tended towards me, and I certainly did grab them, and I'm very thankful for them.
That's wonderful. I think you've honed in on some very important concepts there, which is, to stay motivated, continue to be curious, don't be afraid to try new things, and really rely on and take advantage of the good mentors that you have within your network. I think that's absolutely wonderful, and a really great message for anyone who's watching this right now as well. So congratulations for building a wonderful and very successful independent career so far. Can you tell, you had a really wonderful talk this afternoon, and I was hoping you could tell us a little bit more about what you think is the therapeutic potential of your work, and how ultimately we can reduce cardiovascular disease based on the findings of your work.
I really believe the work basic scientists do in trying to elucidate mechanisms of disease is the foundation of the next generation treatment. So if we just look back in how statins have changed the management of people having coronary diseases, it's based on the work of eminent scientists that have discovered all the cholesterol pathway, the HMG co-reductase, et cetera, et cetera. So I believe there's a similar trajectory for many of the diseases we work. And it really strikes me that we don't really fully understand how our body functions, but we have to understand what happens when it doesn't function properly. So we're adding another layer of complexity to it, which gets me a little excited because I like challenges. And so some of the, for example, the project that I presented today is just based on, I'm very detail-oriented. So I work in the Department of Surgery, and I talk to the surgeons almost every day. And it's the hypothesis goes from very simple observation that, okay, we have a tube, the aorta is straight, and suddenly it becomes like a balloon. Obviously, there are some mechanical changes that are occurring in there. So what if is the shape driving the disease or not, or both? Or what if we change the shape? Does the disease go away? And so talking to my colleague that are clinicians that actually fixes the aneurysms, and they told me that in some cases where after putting a stent, they do have sacs shrinkage. So when you eliminate those exaggerated forces, there is the ability to heal, and when you eliminate those pathological signals. So I truly believe that I've positioned myself in a place where I can have a feet in clinical and understand a little bit more of the granulosity of the disease, and a feet in basic science, and I can combine these. And definitely, I really hope that some discoveries from my lab or from my colleagues as a community, whatever I discovered would be the foundation of their work, and eventually we'll be able to come up with not just a therapy, but a new way of treating people, equalizing treatment for men and women, because right now the surgery guidelines for men, for everybody is based on data from men. It's not different for men and women, but we know the disease affects men and women different. So there's a lot to be done, and I'm sure we'll get there one day.
That's really great. Thank you very much for that wonderful answer. And you're right, science really is a community effort, and we really are grateful for and look forward to the contributions that your lab is going to make. I'm going to move away a little bit from the science now and ask you two more questions. You're obviously a very active member of the American Heart Association and specifically the ATVB Council. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about how you actually got involved with the ATVB Council and the AHA.
So I'm very grateful to the ATVB and the AHA because I learned so much through this network. And so actually, when I was studying for my PhD in Paris, in France, it started from there. My mentors would always encourage me to submit abstracts to the AHA. And when we'd get an abstract accepted, we get to go to the USA, which was exciting, with our colleagues and present our work. It was a big deal for me at that time, at least. So this is how I started to get engaged with the AHA and the ATVB. And of course, this is where I read all the papers and get many of my resources that I use for my work and where I publish my work myself now. And when I moved to New York for my postdoctoral studies, my mentor, Catherine Moore, Catherine was an active member of the AHA, and she always encouraged us to send abstract, present at the work. And through that, I remember the first time I went to a career event and I heard about those K99 grants, how you should apply for it. I met some people that have won the award. I talked to them, and 3 years later, I have one. I get one. So I don't know. I think this tells a lot by itself how I've benefited a lot from the science, the mentoring, the training, the workshop that the AHA and ATVB offers, definitely.
Yeah, that's really wonderful. I think we all need to realize that, the ATVB or AHA, it's not simply just a conference, right? It's really building a network, building those connections, in addition to learning about the science. So it's wonderful to see that the ATVB Council has done some really great things for you and many other trainees. Which brings me to my last question, which is, what advice do you have for those who are watching this interview, and particularly the trainees who are coming up in the field, may even want to apply for the Irvine Page Award themselves? Any advice for trainees in general?
I have a couple of advices. Like you said, don't be afraid to venture into new fields or new areas of science that you feel attracted or understudied, because actually there's a lot of excitement for yourself to learn, and you learn with your team as you grow. I would say learn the best from the best, but at the end, trust your gut feeling. Because, when you start a lab, for me at least, there were too many first times. Everything is the first time. So, of course, you get advice from here to there, and then, but at the end, you should take what you think is best for you, what works for you, because everybody comes from different background and everybody has different personality, and what makes sense, right? I think that you're a smart scientist, but you should trust your gut feeling, and it. People ask me, how do you know it? And it's all right to make mistakes. You learn so much from our mistakes, and be humble. I think I'm very humbled by science in general. I overthink things too much, but I think I feel very lucky to do this job. Who gets to do a job and have a question and do an experiment and get the answer to it? It's wonderful. There are many complications of being a scientist with this. We should celebrate the good things. We have a COVID vaccine in not even a year. It's because of scientists. So
absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Bhama. This has been a really fun chat conversation with you. I really appreciate your time. Congratulations again on winning the Irvine Page Award this year. Your words have also been very inspiring for those who are listening. So thank you for that. All I can say is we really look forward to seeing where your career is going to take you, and good luck to you in all your future endeavors. Thank you so much.